right? Digital India has been a concept of government. They have been pushing now from past 2 years. It is the most happening thing in India, right? So even government has proposed a concept called JAM, which is something called Jandan, Aadhaar and Mobile. That means bank accounts for all, national identity for all, and mobile for M governance, right? This is where India is moving ahead. So on this, let me cover how we are building the next generation services for presenceless, paperless, and cashless India. So this is the concept what I'm trying to cover here. So in my presentation, I will briefly cover on what is Indian National ID, how this is done, and then I will cover specifically on e-signature services. I think most of the concepts Phoebe has already covered, thanks for that. It's more similar service, e-sign service, but it relies on the National ID database of India, right? So Aadhaar. Aadhaar is the national identity given to every resident of India, right? It's a voluntary scheme, but a recommended scheme by which people can enroll to Aadhaar system and get a 12-digit unique ID, right? So this 12-digit unique ID, you know the coverage. So we are 1.25 billion population as of 2013 census. We have been covered for 1.08 billion population with national identity. That's the largest in the world to cover with the national identity in terms of the sophistication what this system has. So this issuance started in 2010, but last 2 years it has picked up in number of issuances. Maybe I think it should be crossing 200,000 per day issuances happening. And we see that most of the eligible residents should have this Aadhaar by end of next year, 2017. So that's the goal government is working on. Approximately 96% of adult population are covered. So as per 2013 census, our adult population is 1.12 billion. So almost 96% of adult population is already covered for national identity. So when I say this is national identity, it's a cardless identity platform. So you do not get any card or smart card, something you have to carry in the wallet. So your national identity is stored in the central database. It's in the government repository where it's secured. So when I say it's a cardless, if you need a original copy, it is issued in a digitally signed PDF, right? So National Identification Authority will certify that PDF and issue you at any point of time. You can request that on the portal and get that any point of time. So mandatory fingerprint and iris enrollment. So every national ID enrollment has 2 iris, 10 fingerprints captured. It is registered in the system. If there is any injury or something, it can be updated anytime also. But in case of child below 5 years, it is provisionally enrolled and the number is allocated. But after the age of 5 years, biometric is captured to the system. So as I said, original copy issued in a digitally signed PDF. And the system contains the data of address, gender, date of birth, mobile and email along with the biometrics. This is my Aadhaar, so I have deleted some of the personal information, but this is generally the PDF what is issued. You can see here there's a digital signature coming in, which is a certified PDF file. Okay, now Aadhaar is done, but where it can be used? It is the same question, chicken and egg question. So I have enrolled where I can use it. That was the question what was remained in the country till 2013. But eventually, systems are built above this national identification data. So what are these systems? Those are the next generation sockets which are built for one is e-authentication and second is e-KYC. So this is the presenceless layer what we are talking about. So when I say e-authentication, it's telling that what you claim is yes or no. So I give my 12-digit Aadhaar number and I give my biometric and system tells yes or no. It is a verification layer. Say, assume airport e-gate, right? So I show my barcoded Aadhaar, I put my biometric and it says yes or no. So there is no information shared with the application, but it verifies and say whether you are allowed or not. So this is the e-verification layer, e-authentication. E-KYC is the another bigger problem in any country, I believe. So if you want to get a bank account, right? So you have to submit several documents and prove yourself, right? So this is something very interesting mechanism what country has brought in, where if you give Aadhaar and biometric, the system reveals the data, that is the demographic data what they carry, right? So these information is shared with the application in a digitally signed XML, right? So it all relies on the open standards, so there are no proprietary standards in the entire system. So we use, which is an open PDF format, or we use the XMLs for sharing the data, and everything is digitally signed. So it can be proven at any point of time. So that's eKYC. Then comes the paperless layer. Paperless layer, we have e-signature, which is what I'll be covering in the next couple of slides. Then there is digital locker. This is also a new system which is being brought into the country, right? So we already launched one digital locker, which is a government digital locker. We are also coming with an ecosystem of digital lockers. Digital locker means your document is stored in an online repository. It belongs to you by your ID, maybe national ID, and you can access that document at any point of time from those portals, just by verifying yourself. So it is once more like you put your Aadhaar and OTP or Aadhaar and biometric and you access that document. Assume you apply for a driving license in India. The system is being developed so that the driving license will be issued in a digitally signed PDF to the digital locker, and maybe a copy would be emailed to you, but it would be sitting on a central digital locker. You can give a consented access to even other parties to verify this document, or you can also download that document, right? So assume you have to share your driving license copy to a bank for opening a bank account. So you can just share the URL with your consent for accessing that particular document. Then the cashless layer comes in. So cashless layer has something called unified payment interface. It is one more most happening thing in India nowadays. It is more like I can transfer the money to anyone based on national ID. I don't want to remember the bank account number or which bank you belong. As my friend pointed out, any person can have multiple bank accounts, right? So we usually have. But anytime when I have to share the bank account number to someone else, always I don't recall my bank account number. It's in India, it's 16-digit number, right? In UPI, the unique thing is either you can transfer by your national ID, either you can transfer by your mobile number, or you can also create a virtual private address for your bank account. So like Vijay Kumar at Axis Bank. So if anybody has this ID, the virtual private address, people can transfer money to me. So this is being set up. So for Aadhaar-based transfer, there is Aadhaar-enabled payment system developed in the country. So these are the multiple layers which are built above the national ID infrastructure. And everything is PKI-based. Every authentication and encryption involves PKI. So when I say PKI, where is it used? So very first thing is, as I said, it is issued in a digitally signed PDF. Then the next important thing is biometric. Biometric means everybody will be concerned that my biometric is in public, right? So this would be the deepest concern any country would have. So this concept has been grown for, I think 2 years. This has been discussed, and finally this entire secure concept has been brought in, where biometrics are encrypted in source. So every certified device which is allowed to interact with Aadhaar, maybe a biometric device, you would have an individual biometric device, or an integrated device, maybe an iris tablet. The data of biometric is encrypted in source using the public key of National Identification Authority. So public key of that National Identification Authority, encryption key, remains in the device, and it will leave out only after encryption. And that encrypted data transferred to National Identification Authority, and that decrypts and verifies, gives back the data. So every biometric transaction is ensured to be secure within the system. Then, as I said, all handshakes are with XML, and those are digitally signed XMLs. Any layer, it is only through digitally signed transactions. Then, as I said, we have also come up with electronic signature, which means that signature for all, right? So conventionally, India had the crypto tokens, the FIP certified tokens, where people had to carry the tokens to digitally sign anything. But now national identity itself is the digital signature for them. So that's where we bring in electronic signatures. So how does this work? So I'll come into electronic signatures itself. So it is introduced by Indian Information Technology Act, amended in 2015. So 2014 we started with the concept. So I was privileged to be part of initial architecture and technical architecting the entire framework. And eMudhra has become the first and currently largest provider of e-sign in the country. It is once more depending on the open APIs in the system, and people are allowed to enroll as e-sign service provider. So if you see point number 3, CCA grants license to e-sign service provider. Any organization which is under the law can enroll as a e-sign service provider and enable this system. So e-sign service provider onboards the applications and provides API access. So any application which want to enable, maybe a mobile application or a web-based application, they can gain the access with the ESP for doing e-sign. So if you see this diagram, so this is the application which is intending to enable e-sign in it. And there is the end user who would be using this application to e-sign. Then there is eMudhra e-sign service. This is the e-sign service provider, which is integrated with national identity data and also a certifying authority. So what happens is, end user will request a signature in the application. So there would be a document either uploaded, or application would create a document, and that particular document hash is sent along with Aadhaar number and the biometric or the OTP to e-sign service. It makes the identity verification. Then it generates a short-term private key pair, and then certifies with a certifying authority. It's a short term, so 30 minutes is the maximum validity defined under law. So a short term validity certificate is generated in a HSM, and then this particular document hash is signed, and requested signature type is responded to the user. Before the response, the key pair is vanished from the system, so it is not stored. So every request, there is a new key pair generated against the national identity data and certifies the document. Then the response is either PKCS 7, or we support PKCS 1 maybe for XML signatures. So different types of signatures are supported here. We give back the data to application. Application would embed it back to the PDF or XML, whatever the document may be. So what are the key highlights here? So as I said, it is a REST API. So any application, they need not worry about the programming language. So it's an open standard. They can use either Java, .NET, Python, PHP, whatever it could be in the world. So they can use that. Even now people have integrated with Apple phones with Objective-C. So they do the e-sign transaction in iPhones. API is very reliable. 3 seconds is the average response time. It's a REST API, so there is a direct online connectivity, and 3 seconds is the average response time for performing an e-sign. Currently, there is 2.5 million users using e-sign. This is the biggest number what we have achieved till now. So it has picked up last 6 months, I could say, but it's just 1.5 year old system, and 2.5 million users have used this particular e-sign service. Every transaction is authenticated with consent of end user. Consent, when I say, it is either the OTP or the biometric, which is from the National Identification Authority. So without user consent, no signature will happen. Then as I said, e-sign certificate is defined at short-term validity, that's 30 minutes, and for one-time use, it is server-side signing. This is one of the sample document, e-sign document. So I just took the screenshot. So a PDF has been signed, and it is trusted by Adobe. So you can see a green tick mark here. This is a PDF example. There is a signing which happened yesterday in night. And if you see this, it's a short-term validity. So 30 minutes is the validity of this particular certificate. And the signing has happened during that duration. You can see this is the duration at which the signing has happened. So, and there is a root certificate hierarchy, trust chain is built. And this CCA India 2014 is our national PKI, which is trusted in Adobe. So what is the adoption? As already Phoebe has shown a certain category, I think that would be the similar adoption in any country, right? So we have banking customer onboarding of customers and transactions. Then capital markets doing the transaction once more, maybe for customer onboarding, or maybe some applications for creating some ad hoc services. Then there are fund management companies using it. There are government applications. Lot of G2C use cases are emerging. So anywhere a public has to raise an application, he need not give a paper. He just fills in online form and gives us either biometric or a OTP to perform a signed application. It's completely paperless. Then, as I said, digital locker platform. There is loan and lending platforms for contract signing. This is another big area where contracts are signed in India. Many use cases needs agreement to be signed, mainly in lending or any kind of commercial contract. So that's where e-sign will come into picture. Tax filing systems, GST is the new thing what is happening now in India. So that also includes e-sign. Mobile application, it's easy for any mobile app to go for PKI, right? So it's signing on the fly. Then financial transactions like say invoice, work orders, or even employee onboarding. So assume now say eMudhra has to onboard an applicant. What we do, we digitally sign an offer and issue to him. He accepts with a digital signature, right? So it is legally binded offer which is covered in the transaction. So employee onboarding is happening with IT companies with e-sign. Invoices, work orders, all these are covered. So that's what happened with e-sign. So how this happened, there is larger participation in the country. Government itself has the emphasis to do this e-sign as a paperless India. So Government of India as well as controller of certifying authorities played a key role in supporting and propagating this concept. Then there is India PKI Forum where we are the members. So India PKI Forum had a key role. Indian Software Product Industry Roundtable, this is a voluntary organization called iSpirit. So they also coined an idea, the concept of India Stack, right? So India Stack is a layer for application to go for next generation. That's where this paperless, cashless, and presenceless transaction happen. Then banking, insurance regulators, several regulators came with a clarification notification saying that e-sign can be accepted by the banking or the insurance companies. So as I said, India Stack evolution, if you see, it's in last 6 to 7 years. We started with the Unique Identification Development Authority of India. So that's where National Identification Authority came in. We launched the National ID, 2010, Aadhaar was launched. Then 2011, several concepts were brought in like Aadhaar enabled payment system, Aadhaar payment bridge, online authentication, that's what I said, e-authentication. Then 2012, Jan Dhan accounts, so bank accounts for all, this has started, rather 2013. Aadhaar numbers were issued like say 40 million were covered by 2013. eKYC service was also started by then. 2014 we reached 100 million, then the 600 million by end of that year. That's where e-sign was coined. E-sign concept came into picture and it was live by 2015. And DigiLocker was the new concept what was brought in here. Then unified payment interface, consent architecture, and GST network. So these are the things happening. With these architecture, we are now able to go to any devices. It doesn't limit for computers, desktops, mobiles. It can also go for IoT, Internet of Things. So in a day, tomorrow, if you want to authenticate something, a device, a light or a projector, you can still use e-sign to authenticate, right? That's where Internet of Things come into picture. So we have started our activities to develop those systems. R&D is going on. Definitely, this being a open-ended architecture, we can extend it direction. That's all from my side. So anything, my contact is here. Please reach out to me. Thank you.
And that was Mr. Vijay Kumar. Thank you very much indeed for sharing us today. Moving on to our next session, ladies and gentlemen. Next will be a presentation about mobile connect, making passwords a thing of the past. And for now, please join me a big round of applause to welcome Mr. Tomi Soininen, Head of Mobile ID, Zomato, Finland. Please welcome.